So I'm going to start off by telling you I am not a social media expert at all. So if you want a social media expert, you should ask my 16-year-old daughter. She is a social media expert. But I'm going to run you through my journey through social media, where we're at today, and I'm going to give you a little glimpse of, I think, where we're going to go. So for me, social media is all about innovation. And this is kind of my journey through the Sheep CRC via iPhone. So these are all my iPhones, and to think in 2007 when I started on the board, that first one didn't even exist. And today you'd hardly imagine leaving the house without it, although looking at my neighbour over here, he still has what looks like a calculator as a phone. So not everyone's embraced it. But what social media for me is all about is innovation. Both old and new, and looking at new and old ways of doing what we're doing going forward. So innovation, to me, through social media has never been closer. In fact, it's just a daily event. Every day I'm seeing new things and new ways of doing things that typically I would have had to go onto a field day or a seminar or some other means, or come to a conference like this to see maybe once or twice a year. And yet every morning, every lunchtime, every evening, I'm being bombarded by them. So for me, it's all about innovation. And for me, it's been predominantly Twitter. I don't have a Facebook account. In fact, I have a Facebook account, but it's it's got one account on it, and it's called WA Wheat Belt Buy, Swap and Sell. So that's it. So basically I'd say that 90% of all the innovation I've developed on my farm in the last 5 years has come from Twitter. And it's come from the many people that I follow sharing ideas constantly. But it's also a great outlet for farmers. So it can be quite frustrating, and we've all had social media where it's gotten particularly around animal welfare, particularly around issues like glyphosate and so on. But it's also a great relief for farmers to be able to share their frustrations and share their anxiety about what's going on, and have a good laugh, I think, sometimes about what's happening. So when you think about these things and you think about Twitter and Facebook and so on, really only starting at about 2007, it's come a long way. If you talk to my daughter, she doesn't even have a Facebook account. She doesn't have a Twitter account. She just has Snapchat. So, and if you think Twitter and Facebook are an interactive way, Snapchat is instant and it's constant. I don't know how many times she Snapchats a day, but it must be in the hundreds. So their life in their group of friends is they're watching each other all day, every day, 7 days a week. So that's just this massive amount of information that is going through. And they're so socially connected. They are so connected to the world and what is going on around them. So you think about, the news media where you get a rural paper once a week, okay? Even now, I haven't read a rural paper in nearly 3 years, because by the time I get them, I've actually already absorbed all that information. That news has already been delivered to me, 5 or 6 days ahead. And so I guess it's good from the social aspects. You can see the pictures of who went to this party or who went to this ram sale or whatever, but that's about it. Even when you go to buy things now, so here's WA Wheat Belt Buy, Swap and Sell. Who reads the paper to look for machinery anymore? Who looks in machinery classifieds anymore when everything's online? And who reads the paper anymore when the papers actually stick their stuff up the day they write the story on social media? So it's a conundrum, I think, in the media environment, and we're all talking about where this is all going to go and who's going to be writing the news. But I think what's really changed is that I think industry and the participants in the industry, being the farmers themselves, are essentially writing the news themselves. And this is a real quandary for those participants in this industry. But it's also a real truth teller. It's very, very difficult in social media landscape to make stuff up and get away with it. You brought down to earth very quickly, and as destructive as it can be, but also makes communication very honest. And one thing I'd say about the future of going forward in communication, if you're not absolutely honest, if you're not absolutely telling the truth, then you're going to be found out very quickly and people are going to call you on it. So the idea of a PR department sort of pushing things, and you look at animal welfare and organisations like Animals Australia, they get away with it for so long and then it all starts to fall apart. But I think the trick is communication, and particularly in the social media sphere, is be upfront, be honest, and say exactly what's happening all the time, and don't try and hide anything, because people are going to find out. I want to talk about this. This is a new app, so this is a new way of doing things, and this is a local agronomist in Western Australia called Peter Newman, and he developed this app called My Research Agro. So this is a bit like Facebook and Twitter all together, but it's specifically around farming, and it's where agronomists and growers now can talk, just in their own environment, about what they're doing. So they can bring up new ideas and new innovations. And the great thing for a grower like me is, you know, a lot of them I'm not particularly interested in, but one of them in particular in lime, and we all spend a lot of money on lime in Western Australia. So they posed the question about neutralising value in lime and how important it is, and there was this online discussion. The great thing about this is you can choose to follow that feed if you want to and get notifications when someone pops up something new. So on my phone, you know, I might not have this app open, but all of a sudden a notification comes up and says Peter Newman has just talked about some research that he looked at from New South Wales regarding lime. Or, you know, a grower has just popped up and commented on that about what he's doing on his farm. So this is an amazing, just day after day, you're getting this constant slow trickle about lime. And you don't think much about it. But as of last week, I changed my lime source because of what I've been reading on this particular timeline for the last 3 weeks. So who in industry, be it GRDC or anyone else, who's been having field days disseminating this information? No one. It's just happening all the time, and it's happening organically, and people are changing the way they're doing things today about what's going on in this particular social media timeline. People are incredibly hungry for new information. You think in Western Australia, 70% of all the produce in Western Australian agriculture is produced by 30% of the farmers. So WA agriculture is actually quite small, so compared to over here. And so that is not a lot of growers. And all those growers pretty much know each other, and they are constantly communicating with each other. So where do research organisations fit into that? Because the problem with an RDC is it has to service everyone. And so RDC is essentially being left behind because they're not particularly active in the social media sphere, because they're actually quite terrified of what's going on and the rapid rate of conversation. They can't control the conversation, and the conversation, if people don't like what they're doing, can turn against them. So growers are very much just taking research into their own hands and doing their own thing. They now have the capital behind them. They're really starting to drive. And so what social media has allowed them to do is essentially form their own little CRCs and they're collaborating together online regarding all this new research. And it's accelerating the rapid growth in research and innovation on farms. So it's a brave new world, I think, when it comes to where research is going and who's going to be driving it. And from my point of view, I like it, because all of a sudden it's turned away from pushing information out to farmers pulling it in and saying, so it's very much, you know, if people are listening, it's farmers saying, this is what's important to us right now and we need an answer for it. I'm going to leave you with a little something that my agronomist brought to me a couple of days ago. And 12 months ago, we were talking about spraying on farm and spot spraying specific weeds. And the technology looked like it was going to be maybe 5 or 6 years away. So green on green spraying is where you can spot a specific weed, in fact multiple weeds in a crop, in a green wheat crop, and selectively spray those weeds out. So he told me yesterday that that product is now commercially available thanks to the new AI technology, and I can fit that on my boom spray in 6 weeks' time and be operating in May with that technology. So radish and capeweed, I can individually spray out of a green wheat crop using selective herbicides, reducing my application cost by 95%. So this is the rapid rate of technology, and it's not waiting for researchers to do it, it's just happening now. So AI is going to change the way research is done, and particularly in the way we adopt it. So So that's pretty much it. I just want you to be, and just recognise that everything I've told you today, in 12 months' time, is going to be completely obsolete because it's all going to be changed again. So it's a brave new world, and I think you need to embrace communication and social media. Thank you.